The Chaser Report is recorded on Gadigal land.
Striving for mediocrity in a world of excellence. This is the Chaser Report.
Hello and welcome to the Chaser Report. Dom here. Charles is still nowhere to be seen. It's been weeks now. We're wondering if he's okay, but not sufficiently to text him to check. Because today we have Sami Shah making a triumphant return to the podcast. Hello, Sami.
Hello. Have you sent out like a search party or even knocked on his door or something? He might just be lying bloated in his kitchen being eaten by cats right now, for all we know.
He lives very close to me, and yet
have you noticed the smell or whiff when you pass by the building at all?
I haven't. It might be my imagination, just dreams coming true in a sense. But no, look, we'll. I think he's okay. He's working on some TV show. He's every social on every single social network at once. He's bragged about getting a TV show on the ABC next year with Vic Zerbst and Jenna Owen. So I assume that's still happening. I don't understand why he's needed, but apparently he is.
Someone's got to hold the drinks and carry the microphones and all that stuff.
And I like to think he's just there boosting morale, saying, "You go, girls," and then saying, "Sorry, women." That's what I'm hoping for. All right, so look, basically, Sami, it's been a very long time since we've done anything on Australian politics. It's pretty much turned into a fairly serious US politics podcast because we've got all these experts who've come on to tell us about the US and what they think of it, and it's been very intelligent.
What's the general summary been? That everything's going great there, it's all under control, or what?
I think that might be the case now, actually. Just,
see, here's my thing.
Hold that thought, Sami. We'll find out what your thing is after we play an ad.
Let's do this.
Okay, bills paid. Sami, your thing, I want to know what your take is. We'll get to Australia. It might only be about 30 seconds, but we will touch on Australian politics, I promise, this episode. But before we do, what's your read on everything? It's insane,
Everyone's really happy about Kamala Harris, right? I actually checked the pronunciation based on how she wants to be pronounced, and apparently it's Kamala. And everyone's really excited, and there's all these people really, really confident that this is what it takes, and this is the time when it's all going to turn around. As if 2016 never happened, as if the same level of confidence wasn't there with Hillary Clinton and the same level of ego almost wasn't there with Hillary Clinton. So I find that really fascinating. Democrats are known for their kind of short-term thinking inabilities, and so that's really something that sticks out to me, where I feel like there might be a problem there. And the other part that, look, I'm not a Trump supporter. Obviously, I like the idea that we're bothering Trump supporters by calling them weird. It's quite obvious that it's a cult. But then whenever I see like white dudes for Kamala, I'm like, all right, maybe I'm not on board with this either. Maybe America's just fucked either way. Maybe they're all weird.
I can't work out what to make, Sami, of white dudes for Kamala, because I read about the article and it seemed as though it had quite a bit of self-awareness about how shitty the concept of white dudes coming together and advocating anything was, right? I mean, Ronnie Chang and all the others made the appropriate jokes you'd think about the KKK and so on. And it seems as though the people who actually did the event were fully aware of what that was. You know, they got the dude from... Big Lebowski,
yep.
But they still did it.
I know, that's my thing.
This is the thing.
Are you self-aware? If I ironically bash myself in the face with a hammer, I'm still bashing myself in the face with a hammer at the end of it all. I will ironically break my nose, but I will have a broken nose. Like, it doesn't make a difference, I think, the intent versus the outcome. So I don't know. A part of me is just like, it's the same as like, I have that reaction whenever I see a white person in Melbourne wearing a keffiyeh. I'm always like, I don't know. I don't know if you should be doing that. I don't want you doing that. I don't know why it bothers me, but it bothers me.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, I'm wondering maybe, Sami, it was just that they had their regular Zoom on that day that they have to run the world.
Yes, that's true.
I don't get invited to those meetings, obviously. But maybe there's like, we can actually have this one in public because every group's having their little thing. First it was black women and they crashed Zoom with, I think, 44,000 or something. Then I think there were women more broadly. Or white women.
There was a white women for Kamala as well.
And that's a bit weird too, right? Like, not that I'm in any position to criticize, but going, there's been a black woman for Harris. Let's have a white woman. This won't be weird. And then the white men, I think, here's the thing. They proved it's weird for everyone.
Yes. I've always argued that the way we used to talk about things, race was, there's brown people, there's black people and all of that, but white people didn't know they were white people until we told them that, because up until then, white people just thought they were people.
Yeah.
Right? And now they know that they're white people versus other races are brown, black, etc. I don't know if that was a good idea in retrospect. I think maybe a level of ignorance was fine, and we would have just had dudes for Kamala with none of them realizing that they're white. But the white dudes for Kamala thing just really weirded me out. Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
I mean, I guess the one way to defend it is if Donald Trump learned about it and crashed the Zoom going, what are you doing?
No one invited me.
I've been the best president for white dudes ever. I mean, he's already told black journalists that he was the best president for black people since Abraham Lincoln, completely ignoring Barack Obama.
He did technically unify all black people against him and therefore became, he was the best president for black people in the same way in the end scene of Watchmen. Ozymandias is the best hero for humanity by, unleashing mass death and calling it a unifying experience. So
yeah, I guess in the same sense that COVID was the best virus for immunologists.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And amateur immunologists, which was a thing that we didn't even know there was in the amateur category, but there is now.
I really don't want to look back over the past archives of this podcast to try and see what we were saying in 2020, because I'm sure we were talking about, I can't remember what the terminology was, but we definitely all became amateur experts in that shit for a little while. Okay, so all this going on though, the question I have for you, I mean, I didn't ask you on the podcast today, Sammy, to speak on behalf of all brown people.
Sure.
But as you're here,
right,
is it over-egging it a bit to say that there are shades of a little bit of Obama-y energy coming into this? Because I don't know. I'm getting the sense watching Democrats, and admittedly, a lot of my news is filtered through comedians online who are almost exclusively annoyingly liberal, practically.
Right, yes.
People seem to be getting very excited, not just about the fact that Trump might lose, but the fact that this could be one of those I remember where I was moments where the first woman who is also a woman of colour, and to Donald Trump's great shock, from 2 backgrounds at once. How is that even possible?
Which is funny because he's from 2 backgrounds at once as well. I believe his father's side of the family is German, and his mother's side of the family was a can of spray tan. So I think that's the genetics there.
I wasn't sure where you were going with that. I wasn't sure whether we were going Cheetos or because his mother was Scottish, right? That's why he got so upset when the people of Scotland didn't want his ugly golf courses at one point. Yeah.
All right. Well,
of course, I mean, I don't want to generalize about the people of Germany, but not massively shocked, are we?
Yeah,
at that background.
No. And it's fine. I think the Germans need to accept that being generalized is one of the punishments that they will have to bear for a very long time.
Quite
still
some
to come.
time, yeah.
Right. I mean, yes, I can see why there's vibes of Obama here. I can understand. The thing is, when Obama kind of came out of nowhere, and you have to remember, he did come out of nowhere, right? There was one day there was no Obama, and the next day there was just Obama. And we were all crying and everything when he won, and he did the Yes We Can speech, and then I think Will I Am or someone turned that into a song.
Yes, he did, which is, and even despite that thing happening,
yes,
it was still a moving thing.
Exactly.
Yes, we can, mate.
But up until the very moment that Joe Biden stepped aside, or rather tripped over and fell down and no one's picked him up, basically, I think is what happened. No one was excited about the prospect of Kamala Harris. That's the thing that kind of bothers me with this, is first, the Democratic Party just basically gaslit everyone into going, we're like, hey, Biden soiled himself. They're like, no, all pants are brown all the time. And you're like, come on, dude, just be honest with me.
Take a sniff.
And then everyone was like, hey, he needs to step down, and someone other than Kamala Harris needs to step up because no one actually likes her.
Yeah, because she's electoral poison.
Right. And then he did get pushed down, and then she did step up, and now all of a sudden we're like, yup, that's who we always wanted. We were all hoping secretly it would be her. Nobody wanted her. She wasn't, at the end of the day, she got where she got, and she got the position she got for a variety of reasons, and I'm not going to play it was a diversity pick card, even though it kind of was a diversity pick card, because I've been a diversity pick card for many things in my career, and the best you can hope for is, hey, after they get past the diversity pack, they'll look at my credentials, and she probably had the same thing going for her, and now she's here, and now she's in the position. Can we take a moment to go, hey, this wasn't maybe the best choice, but it's the choice we're stuck with?
And let's give a bit of credit where it seems to be due. I don't know whether you've heard this backstory, Sammy, but it's a pretty fascinating one.
I'm sure everyone. JD Vance had a fascinating backstory at one point.
God,
everyone in
may have
politics
got
has
this from
yes.
A worryingly large amount of information about the US election in my brain now. I now realise came from Anthony Scaramucci on the Rest is Politics US podcast, which I really enjoy. But yeah, it may be utter bullshit. But the theory is that, who knows where I got it from, that Obama didn't really think she could win, right?
Yes.
And so he was slow to endorse, and then Biden pulled out, and then shortly afterwards went, actually, because he's got a bit of tension with Obama, because Obama backed Hillary over him, and then looks a bit reluctant about him the last time. It's a joke, come on, you're a bit old. And so the theory was that he just kind of like, okay, well, I'm stepping down. There's no way we're having a broker convention the way Obama wants. Fuck that guy. It's Kamala. I'm going to pick the person who it's going to be. It's going to be my VP who I chose. So there's a little bit of a fuck you, Barack, on the way out. And that's kind of weird if true, given the kind of...
he did take a while to call her and endorse her. Like, it wasn't a right-away thing.
That video, which was clearly enormously staged, the biggest negative for me of Kamala Harris's candidacy so far is that based on that video, she doesn't seem to understand how speakerphone works.
Look, that's the only part I respect. That's a certain kind of Gen X vibe to the whole thing. I still do the thing where I have the speakerphone and then I hold it to my ear. And
that's
then
what
I'll
she's
get
doing.
Yeah, exactly. So
am I on speaker or am I not? Both at once.
That might be the only part of her entire platform I respect so far. Otherwise, her whole background for privatizing prisons, etc., etc. I don't know.
Yeah.
But also, here's my thing. It's America. Who gives a shit? If it collapses, that's hilarious. If it doesn't collapse and continues to sputter along in a complete chaotic mess, that's hilarious too. We're not Americans, and yet again, we should remember that's something to be grateful for. We get to
They do
watch
entertain
it.
us.
Yeah.
Whether they entertain us with television programs or
it is the greatest spectator sport in the history of the world, the US elections. And let's sit back and enjoy this season. That's it.
Yeah, I must say the Donald Trump getting shot in the ear twist was one I wasn't expecting.
Can we just look at that? That happened recently. It wasn't 6 months ago. That happened within the last month. And we've
about
already
3.5 weeks.
forgotten it. We've already... Yeah. It's old. It's boring. That's amazing. That's just great writing. That is great writing. Yeah. I don't care what anyone says.
I must say, I wish that whoever scripted this did the last season of Game of Thrones, because
they're packing all the events in one go. There's no plot.
Plus, we even get the whole succession thing of Rupert Murdoch being sued by 3 of his children.
Yeah,
like maybe Jesse Armstrong's doing this season of America. I don't know what's going on.
It's so good. I'm excited. And when you contrast that with our own Australian politics, where it is just the most mediocre, boring people being the mediocre, boring selves. Like everyone's like, oh, Barnaby Joyce did something crazy. Oh, please, come on, really? That's what I'm going to pay attention to? Someone take a shot in the ear or something.
Let's take a look at Australia in just a second.
The Chaser Report. News you can't trust.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't really bothered to pay attention to it. And given that an election's kind of brewing in the background, it feels like this being a Chaser podcast, we kind of should at some point look at what's going on. But it does seem as though extremely little. I mean, Albo had a reshuffle recently. It's almost too dull to talk about. And is he just going to fall over the line because no one can be bothered looking at anything? Is that what's going to happen?
I think that's his hope, right? Like the one thing we do in Australian politics is if they're paying attention to you, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Because
you want to be the default.
People still pay attention to Peter Dutton all the time, and that means that he's doing something horrifically stupid as per usual. But I mean, like I went on I'm on the ABC website right now. I clicked on politics. The first thing that came up is bidding open to manage Sydney Airport's coveted gates after accusation of slot hoarding by Qantas and Virgin. That is literally minor earthquake in Chile, no one injured, a building gets a crack kind of level of headlining. Like, that is the dullest headline in the world.
Although I will say, Sammy, one thing did happen today, which I was a bit bemused by. ASIO raised the terror threat to probable.
I mean...
And is that just we told you so? Is that just a bit of arse covering?
No, probable is still very vague. Probable
it's pretty
is still...
vague, yeah.
Probable is just... That's the kind of thing that is just, they need to justify making us take our belts and shoes off at the airport and all of that. I mean, at this point, for me personally, I feel like at least if there's a terror attack, then it will justify the harassment we go through at the airport, because I'm not buying it anymore. It's
been a lot of years since 9/11.
Yeah, and the belt in my hand second, and then Brisbane Airport has the old system, so you have to take out your laptop, but then Melbourne Airport has a new one, so you keep the laptop in, and then the random checks and everything. At least someone do something so it's worth it all. Otherwise, what are we doing here? Charades? It doesn't make sense.
Well, you remember in the States, there was that one shoe bomber, and I think they're still making people take their shoes off and put them through the scanner every single time.
That's in America, though, right? They don't make them. I've never taken my shoes off in Australia.
I've never done it here.
Yeah. Which is funny because the shoe bomber was a Muslim, and now basically you have to behave like a Muslim household at every airport in America. So technically he won.
That's great.
It was a
That's
moral
a wonderful
victory.
cultural legacy.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, look, I mean, surveying the scene here, Peter Dutton's being Peter Dutton.
Yeah, who cares?
Albo's being. I mean, Albo went to the Garment Festival on the weekend, gave a big speech, said this thing isn't over, but then it turned out the funding really wasn't there anymore.
So it was over after all.
Well, there was funding, but he didn't want to spend the funding or something. Peter Dutton immediately ruled out and said, "We're not doing anything." I'm kind of like, we knew that.
Nobody.
You didn't need to clarify
no one was
that.
holding their breath, Peter.
We
Calm
were
down.
already there. Makarata was, we know you're not going to do it. You probably don't even know what it is. So yeah, it just feels like, I don't know. Do we want to live in a boring place and laugh at the non-boring places? Is that what we've come to as a country, that we actually like tedium in our politics? I feel sorry for the people who've got to cover this every day.
Well, I mean, look at the people who have to cover it every day. It serves them right. Have you seen them? Have you seen our political analyst class? I mean, how many columns can Patricia Karvelis write while also hosting TV shows and doing radio shows and not doing any of them well, by the way?
How does she do so many things at once? I don't understand.
I think Patricia Karvelis' career is testament to, if you turn up and don't make too much of a fuss, people will keep giving you work. I remember Red Simons once told me, if you just don't make too much noise, you can stay here for 30 years. I obviously didn't listen to him, and Red Simons didn't either listen to his own advice, but PK, God bless her, she really is going to be turning up for 30 years.
Could she be, maybe she's just done a lot of improv and it's just always like, yes and.
I don't even, have you heard the interview? Here's my thing with and this is probably going to get back to her, and then I won't be able to show my face around the ABC again. But every interview that she conducts that isn't a politician is literally PK on screensaver mode. It is Patricia Karvelis going, as she's Googling what politician she wants to interview next, because she's not interested in anyone or anything else. That's our political class. They only care about politics. They're on Insiders, a TV show that you have to genuinely be mentally unwell to watch, and your mental fitness will get worse after that. And that's it. That's their entire raison d'etre.
I'm studiously not commenting on this, Sammy, but I appreciate you expressing your point of view. I will say this, though. Insiders, the notion of Sunday morning political programs, I do find deeply offensive. They're not something that I watch. It's like the one time when I don't want to have to think about any politics is a Sunday morning.
I've never watched
my
Insiders.
one morning for sleeping in.
Yeah, I've never watched Insiders, and I've never watched Q&A. I've been on Q&A, and I've never
You've
even
been on
watched
Q&A.
it.
So did you watch it when you were
Nope.
on Q&A, or did you?
Nope.
Did you just block most of it out?
I completely blocked it out. I don't understand why people would watch those. I know people watch those, but it's the same as I was going to say it's the same as Love Island, but actually I can see myself watching Love Island before I see myself watching Insiders. Fuckboy Island I would watch over Insiders any day of the goddamn week.
Fuckboy Island. I must say, if they could combine some of those programs, it might help with the ratings.
Oh, I thought like Q&A meets Fuckboy Island, where you get all
Q&A
of the...
on an island with probing political questions directed to fuckboys. I think that would be...
How are we
certainly
not
a nice
pitching
show.
this right now? Fuck Charles
Yeah.
and whatever thing he's working on. We have ABC's next TV show right here, you and I.
Yep. Q and fuckboy A. I think that's the way we'll make it all happen. Well, okay. I'm glad that someone else with your expertise as a long-term political commentator, who had to do political commentary, I presume, every day when you had a serious radio job, that you have sort of confirmed my view that it's not actually... We're not letting anyone down by not covering Australian politics in more detail.
No, it's fine. Look, it's a luxury to be boring. It's an achievement to be boring, right? And I'm sure, by the way, under the cover of boring, all kinds of heinous shit is happening, and budgets are being cut for everything. All that.
Always.
But that's what you want your politics to be. You want them to be venal and corrupt and mediocre and rancid, but as long as you don't pay attention, so you don't have to stress about it, and instead you can worry about things like the price of Big Mac going up.
How are you enjoying middle age there, Sammy?
Look, I'm really
Father
craving
of
me
two.
a Big Mac right
we've,
now.
We've both got young children. We both can't be fucked. I think that's about the size
I think
of
that's it. I think apathy is it's something to strive for. A lot of people are like, oh, where do you see yourself in 10 years? When I was in my 30s. And the correct answer should have been not giving a shit anymore. And now that I'm there, I never want to leave this place.
Yeah, and you hustled so hard. I was so impressive.
Too hard, many have argued.
You were the PK of comedy. You were just doing 600 things at once. Pumping it out, saying yes and to everybody.
Just mediocre, just completely blankly blinking at anyone who came into my studio or my dojo or whatever.
There you go. Or your dojo. I love it. Sammy, lovely to catch up, and I look forward to not covering Australian politics in similar detail with you.
Likewise. Hope we never talk about it again.
All right. Gears from Road. We're part of the Iconoclast Network, and we'll see you soon. Sammy, are you still doing the podcast then? Given
I
all
am.
This?
Yes. Well, I took 5 weeks off because I was traveling and holidaying and kind of recovering from a few illnesses. So it is back this week onwards. So News Weekly, that's News WEAKLY. And basically, I can also afford to not give a shit because it's been for 5 weeks of not looking at the news. I'm sure the world's fine. I haven't taken a peek. I'm sure everyone's getting along great. I'm going to do that this week.
All right. We'll look for that on our feeds on Friday. Catch you next time.
Bye.